ahead and ask you, David, a question because you have transitioned, into manhood, and your experience is still
He's a
fresh.
man now.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Your
a fresh man. He's a
yes,
fresh man.
your
Hallelujah.
Yes.
experience is
Freshman.
still fresh. You're getting ready to get married in a
Yep.
couple of days. Oh my gosh. He's the bridegroom right now. So tell us, what are the things you because I know that sometimes the young people of nowadays say, man, now I don't want to grow old, like the
Yeah.
responsibility that come with, that realization. So tell us, with your transition into manhood, what were the things that shocked you? What were the things that disappointed you? And what are the things you're having to have to deal with now? And what has helped you to deal with those things?
Yeah. First of all, I was going to say thank you to Pastor Joy for just inviting me on this platform. I mean, you played a role into the man that I have become and still becoming. And my uncle here too, Uncle Daniel, like I gleaned from him. I learned from him, like so many things that I know now is because of him. And I would say it is an interesting time to define like who a man is. And for me, in my journey is because I was born in Nigeria. So I grew up, with a dad, an African dad, with the African culture and everything, then moving to the States and seeing how that is, with the culture shock. I think the biggest thing that I've learned in my process is somebody who's able to learn and also unlearn some things, then relearn. And I think that is what really defines my process of becoming a man. Because I had to learn some things, and you learn things whether you like it or not, through an experience, through how you grow up. But there are times where you're in situations where you have to unlearn some old mentalities in order for you to adapt and grow. And if you're not able to do that, it limits your growth process. It limits your maturity. And I've learned that I need to be able to maybe unlearn some things so that I can relearn, new perspectives, whether it's even things in the Bible and even things in the world today. So I would say being adaptable is a major key in becoming a man now. Like everyone has said is spot on. You have to be responsible. There's no like shortcuts. You have to be humble, but you also have to be adaptable to the world, because the world is going to challenge you in so many ways. And if you're not adaptable, then that's why so many guys shrink, because they don't want to like take responsibility, right? They don't want to, take on that next step. They don't want to be committed. They don't want to do any of those things because it's so much. So I believe the key is being able to learn, unlearn, relearn, and also being able to be adaptable.
Awesome. Unlearn, relearn, and learn. Yeah. So learn, unlearn, and relearn.
I think a part of the mystery for me is the timing and exactly how much responsibility you're supposed to take on while you're growing. Yeah, like basically how much do you kind of just go through what you're going through and try to in a way go through it yourself and try to come through it better, and then how much do you rely on other people and ask them for help?
So let me give you the time.
Yeah. I really liked everything Pastor Kez, just talked about. And I think it's super important, that we're able to like ask these kind of questions that Hayden asked, because I can relate to him, because I remember when I was 18, I was like, okay, what are the things I'm supposed to know as an 18-year-old man, right? Because I'm like, okay, maybe I'm legal, but what does that mean, Then when I was 21, what are some things I need to know while I'm 21, And I think so this is important to be asking ourselves these questions as we're like developing in these stages. It's like, what are the things I'm supposed to know at 18, at 21, at 25? Like, what are some areas in my life that need real development in, And what are some of the interests that I love, Because the biggest thing in college, the biggest pressure that I remember was you have to figure out like what you want to study, what is going to be your job. And you can end up, taking 4 years trying to figure that out. I knew people who changed their degree every year because they didn't know what that is, because it was like a overcomplicated process. And I love what Pastor Kez said, where it's okay to try. It's okay to say, okay, I took this class, it didn't work out. but actually this other class intrigues me, you know? And for me, like I went to school for media and, you know, and I was studying media, but I felt like I wanted to do different things. And now I ended up in technology, you know? So it's really important to, you know, have that trial and error, you know, process and being okay with like trying something and figuring out like, okay, I thought this was going to be it and it's not it, you know, instead of just like holding on to something and really hating it the whole entire time after you get out. So trial and error is really good, and having a safe space where you can have your dad you can call to and ask him like, hey, what do you think about this? And the cool thing about having mentors and, you know, even, you know, father figures in our life is they see beyond us, Hayden. Like they see who we are and they can kind of project even better than us. They see the little things that we pick up. You know, I have my uncle and my dad to thank for that. Like my uncle saw like, okay, I like to be creative. I like to use computers. And he empowered me in that, you know, and because of him actually pushing those interests in me, I was able to even like do way more stuff in that. So don't be afraid to experiment when it comes to that. And also learn from your mistakes. One of my biggest mistakes that I learned in college was procrastination. I'm just going to be honest. Like, you know, like being in a class, not doing any of the homework till the exam period. And like the night before, me and my friend are trying to type in our 20-page paper. Like that's a hard lesson to learn because you're trying to pass. So it's learning those little things like, you know what, I need to like take my time with this. I need to process this better. And like I said, I love what Pastor Kat said, being able to, you know, try things and know what's for you, what doesn't work for you, and just moving on.
Were there any ideas or notions about manhood or being a man that you guys had that once you became a man, you realized were wrong or you had misunderstood?
Oh yeah.
That I was saying, yes, there were a lot of things, you know, that definitely I want to say, you can even say misconceptions for me. And I think one of the biggest thing, you know, right now, toxic masculinity is a buzzword, you know, in society and culture today. One of the biggest things that I learned, which is something that I had to unlearn, is that as men, we're not supposed to be vulnerable. You know, we're not supposed to like let people into our struggles, into our challenges, into like what we're just trying to figure out. And I know for me, I guess coming from an African home and African culture is like, men are supposed to be the strongest, no weakness, Superman. Like you can't show weakness, because if you show weakness, that means you're not as strong. You know, that means you don't have it together. And I've really learned that what really helps is finding healthy people around you, and that could be your dad, that could be your uncle, that could be other male figures in your life that you see the way they live and they have a healthy lifestyle. For me, I look at people who have healthy marriages, they have a healthy career, and I'm like, wow, like how did they get to where they got to, you know? And I'm vulnerable enough to ask them, like, I'm not in the place where I want to be in my career, in my relationship. Can you show me or tell me what are some things that I could do better from your experience as well? And I think that is really important, that you are able to be vulnerable to those key people in your life, because you can learn from their experiences, which we're talking about now. It's just a common theme, is about like learning. And so I think being able to be vulnerable and be able to share the hardships in your life that you encounter, you know, whether that's financial struggles or, you know, whatever that is. And you can just say like, hey, like, I'm trying to understand this process. I'm trying to understand this. Like, I want to be able to talk to people. And there's so many people I talk to, but there are two main people who are on this broadcast I talk to all the time. I remember talking to my aunt and uncle when I was thinking about getting married, thinking about getting engaged, making a huge life decision, and like just letting them speak into me, right? Further than what I could understand or even see. So sometimes like I said, the misconception about being like the macho man is dangerous, because it limits our ability to grow and it limits our ability to actually learn. So the interesting thing about vulnerability is the more vulnerable you are to extent, especially to healthiness. I'm not saying like put all your stuff on Facebook, Snapchat, like, you know, let everyone know your business. No, I'm saying like to the people, I want to say your core. Everybody should have a core. Every man should have a core of guys or people that can speak into him, that can challenge him, that can call you out of your own behavior or whatever that is. And you can listen take what they say and, like practice that or put that into practice. And like I said, some of those people are actually on here, like my uncle and my aunt. There's the people who they're allowed to call me out. They're allowed to discipline me in a sense and say, hey, you were wrong when you had that perspective, or you talked like that, or you made that decision. And I know that their criticism is coming from a good place because I'm vulnerable to accept that. Right now, I feel like there's so many men, or even boys who no one can tell them anything. They're not open to learning. They're not open to receiving. So it stops their development to be better fathers, better husbands for their wives, or even better learners, even for their career. They're stuck in the same job because they have the same mentality. And that doesn't change if you're not vulnerable to say, I need to get better, I need to grow, and I need to become the best version of myself.
What do you think the most important thing about manhood is that your father passed on to you? Mm-hmm. And then the other side of the question was, what do you think was missing from what he taught you or the experience you had with your father that you had to kind of compensate for when you had your own children?
Like I said, first of all, Hayden, thanks for asking that question. I think for me, I have so much respect for my dad, because, him being an immigrant in this country, taking his family from Africa, bringing us here. The biggest thing that I know that has left, one of the things he's left a lasting impression on me is the importance of discipline, which is a word that everybody hates right now. Like, not a lot of people love that word. Nobody wants to be disciplined for anything. But my dad always had this thought that he always says this when we would do dumb stuff. He said, you can pay now so you could play later, or you could play now so you could and pay later, And that always used to like mess with my mind. I'm like, whoa, like if I pay now, I could play later, I could chill. But if I play now, then I can't play later. And he used to say that with how you invest your time now, how you invest in yourself now will determine what kind of future you're going to have, will determine what kind of world you're going to build. And I think that is super important. As a man, there are areas in our lives where the foundation needs to be solid, whether it's our identity, how, like my uncle was saying, knowing God for in an individual level. And that way, like, our identity is rooted. That means like society can't tell us something that we are not. They can't really speak into us because we know who we are and whose we are. And that plays a huge role. So knowing that, but also, like we talked about earlier, is like learning yourself, your life skills, being aware of like, what are the things I like to do? But also, what are the things that I'm just naturally good at? Like, what are the things I just naturally can figure out without someone teaching me? That's another thing, is like taking the time, to have that discipline to know yourself, be self-aware about those things. When you take that time to do that now, you're not easily swayed by what everyone is doing later. You're not easily swayed by the new trendy things or the new trendy jobs. You already know what you're good at. You know what you excel in. You already know that you're an expert in something else because you've paid the price. You've invested in yourself. And now you're somebody, whether that's in your career or even somebody who's looking to be married, that somebody can invest in you. So I would say that's one of the biggest things that I learned from it, is just having that discipline to really like focus in this season of becoming, right? Like how you invest your time in developing yourself and also being having self-awareness for yourself. I'll say one thing that, that I don't have any kids now, but like in the future, as I become a father, that I'm self-aware about, from just watching my dad, is understanding that, like Pastor Kes said, like family, like spending time with family. My dad was busy, always trying to make ends meet, like always trying to provide for us. And I'm so appreciative for that, because without him, there's no me, right? But at the same time, I think over the years, I've gone to learn that there's an importance of being present. If you look at all the stats about, Black fathers, Black men, like it's starting to change, because before the stereotype is like Black men are not in their homes. They don't spend time with their kids and all this kind of stuff. But now again, like people are looking at like there's a difference between what is urgent versus what is important. Urgent is your bills, the things that are never going to change. But the important things is family, your relationships, your friends, those things that you need in order to become who you are. You know, your bills are always going to be there. Like the papers, the school is always going to be there. Like that stuff is never going to change. But there are important things in your life that once you miss those moments, you cannot get back. So it's very important to prioritize those times, whether it's like spending time with family. And for me, what that looks like is I always try to, like, since now that I live in Seattle, I always try to fly to Houston to see my uncle and my cousins, or go to Virginia to see my mom and dad. Because the more we get older, what is going to matter is those little precious moments that we spend together and build those memories and experiences that are going to last a lifetime. Thank you.
Man.
Awesome.
Man. David.
Yes.
David, you guys are going to make me miss dinner today because my stomach is full.
Yeah, they knocked it off.
It's like, I mean, I know them. I mean, I know Hayden. Hayden is a 2.0 leader in Houston, so I know Hayden. And this is not the first time I'm hearing him speak, but this is the first time I told him, bring your questions. And I am amazed at the questions that Hayden is asking that gives me a window into his mind even the more. And your mind is beautiful. And David, I have been so proud of you. I don't hide it because it's not like it's not what they call that thing. It's not a hype, you know. And you know me, I'm not even good at hyping because like I'll turn around and still poop if it goes the other way. So, but the thing I love the most about David is just and I'm not surprised that that's your message. Really, you said to learn and relearn because he's so teachable and he's so accountable. Those are the two powerful things that I use David as a role model for. He's teachable, he's accountable. Even when he's making decisions, you already know what he's still going to check in with you. He's still going to tell you, pray about this for me, you know, talk to me about this. What do you think about this? Like, he's absolutely teachable and he is accountable. So when we're looking for mentors for young people, these are the people right here, because what has poured into them and is overflowing is healthy, it's clean, and you can drink from it. So those of you who have sons, you know, like route them in this direction. Route them. So much love coming for you guys. Hey, I'm even jealous. Like, I mean,
thank you guys.
Everybody's blown away. Thank you all so much. I mean, we could do this all day, but I know that you all have time to, things to do, and you have to go. And Hayden has classes that are spread out. And Hayden, you know, we love you. This was powerful. And Pastor Kes, thank you for always, you know, pouring in, because I like your examples. Like I'm piling my stories on you now. Like I'm hearing so many stories. I'm hearing stories from you. I enjoy hearing you speak because you pour out from an authentic place, you know, and I love that. You know, so you are also an asset to the kingdom for such a time as this. You are in the kingdom for such a time as this. And you are also always teaching precept upon precept. You know, you like laying it upon each other. And I am super appreciative, and I'm thankful to God for your life. And so there you have it, guys. This is Voice the Man. The
Voice
first
the
ever
Man.
Voice the Man. It was awesome. Thank you, guys. And like we all know. Oh my God, look at all this love.